Welcome back to the channel. It's Monday. I've done legs and a 5.5 mile run. What a stupid combo. Beans and sausages on toast with tahini afterwards for recovery. Before we go on, I've got to say, credit to this channel, Striking 101. I believe that's the gym that hosted the seminar and the YouTube channel. I'll link it below, the full video, because they have a lot of sparring clips on this. I'm not going to analyze every single round because there's a lot of rounds in here. I'm analyzing a few. I'm George Hardwick, pro MMA fighter, 13-3, and we're looking at this man, Yuki Yoza. Legendary for both his fights and his sparring clips. So let's look at it here. We'll put it back and we'll start breaking down. It's always interesting to see how they react to not necessarily full-time competitors, other professionals are sparring, but hobbyists. People with real jobs that do real things like fix U-bends. We've got a Southpaw against Yuki Yoza. If you're not aware, Yuki Yoza is in the white, the legend. So what thing that Yuki Yoza does against Southpaws a lot, he'll switch Southpaw himself and use a calf kick. There's a cross parry into shoulder roll. Shoulder roll is something very rarely we see people use in open stance. I can only really think of Zab Judah. We see Arnold Allen in the UFC use a reverse shoulder roll sometimes. If you've overthrown your backhand, you can turn that into a reverse shoulder roll. Doesn't necessarily cover as much as it does in a closed stance, because in the closed stance it's really covering up against that overhand right people try and arc. Doesn't give as much coverage for the left straight. There we see the inside calf kick off for Yuki Yoza. The inside calf kick, something that when beginners would start doing, I'm like, no, that's somewhat weird that Tony Ferguson or Jan Blachowicz do. But we're seeing a lot of the Team Vaselis guys, Takumi Terada, Masaki Noiri, absolutely pelt people with inside calf kicks. If you trust in your conditioning and people are that scared of the outside calf kick that they start turning out, you can catch a good calf, and your shin probably comes off better in that exchange unless they get a good check to it. Knee feints, very overpowered in hard sparring, and they seem to come out 8 to 10 times more in a light sparring situation. But you see Yuki Yoza using that cross parry. They end up close stance a lot with Yuki Yoza switching. There's that little uppercut. He's good at hitting uppercuts whilst on one leg. Something very, very difficult. Cross parry into uppercut. That's a really nice thing, because when you cross parry a lot of people, particularly more in MMA, and they're on one leg, they don't have that direction to move. They can't push off either leg. So a lot of the time they'll duck. So people are expecting like a right hand to come back in a straight fashion or an overhanded fashion or hooking fashion. A lot of the time they'll duck. So we see that cross parry into uppercut off of Yuki Yoza. And there he's thinking about it again. Overhand hook into right low kick, knee feint into quad kick. It's very interesting that they'll still target different parts of the leg. You know, they won't just hammer in on the one spot like the old Bas Rutten classic, hit the same spot over and over. They still touch different spots, and I'll be very interested to hear their reasoning on that. Some spots possibly just above the knee, you might off balance them a little bit more, or you might cause them to bow out a little bit more. It might just be a range dependent thing, but Kyokushin fighters, they are very, very tricky with targeting each part of the leg, and that's a classic Yoza maneuver. Normally he hits that Chizoku kick into the midsection when he does that. So you see he's going to go high kick from his southpaw stance at some point. There he's using his jabs, cross parrying, fakes the upper, goes high kick, and then feints up, looks high, and then blasts a kick into the leg. Let's see if I can get a freeze frame of him looking up. Freeze frame of him looking up. Sorry. There he fakes an uppercut. That's somewhat classic. He'll fake an uppercut into a high kick. And there he's looking up whilst the kick comes down. He'll often do this to the back leg. If you watch Benson Henderson versus Gilbert Melendez, that's a really classic fight where Benson Henderson would do that a lot. A lot of the best kicking variety you'd see in MMA was from Benson Henderson. There's a lot of great performances, not necessarily crowd pleasers, but a lot of really good kicking developments like calf kicks. A lot of that came from Benson Henderson, but you could find the best early examples from Benson Henderson, at least in MMA. See Yuki Yoza, in these playful spars, he's going to stand a lot more upright and use his shoulders to defend a lot more. Whereas when you see him having a hard spar with Chico Kawase, the 77 kilo glory champion, who's much bigger and a hard hitter, and they're not having such a light spar, Yuki Yoza's almost got a baseball cap on. He's keeping his hands at his eyebrows and he's just pinching tight, keeping his fists tight, because he knows he opens up, he's going to take a big shot. Whereas this playful spar, it seems to have a great energy, this gym. It seems to have a very smiley atmosphere. You know, seems to have a good ethos, does this gym. I forgot to put this on flight mode. Seems to have a really good ethos, does this gym. But there we see someone using that outside calf kick on Yoza, actually off-balanced him really well. We see another guy, this guy seems to be switching stances and using Southpaw more. So we see a lot of these Southpaw tactics from Yuki Yoza. If you watch his fight with Pet Jam, if you watch his fight with Gundapar Wirisakura, I actually thought, because the Sitachai vs Noiri fight happened not too long ago, I thought the Yuki Yoza having a similar style might have some struggles with Gundapar Wirisakura. A really good tie with really good left kicks and right hooks and low kicks. I thought he might be able to score some points on him. And Yuki Yoza absolutely demolished him. Something that he'll do is he'll go close stance and calf kick just like that. A lot of Southpaw fighters, let's see if I can find the moment of that calf kick just so we can freeze frame it. A lot of Southpaw fighters, pause, play. So Yuki Yoza switching there, hiding his switch with a little bravado, upper body. There, he's going low kick. A lot of Southpaws tend to have that foot pointed in just a little bit more than your orthodox fighter because they're prepared for the power kick to be either a kick to the back leg or the inside low kick. So they're turned in a little bit more, and it makes it easier to find this sweet spot on the calf. When they're fighting other orthodox fighters, the calf kick is not normally a power kick, and they often have to take a preliminary step. So we see it very often. Yuki Yoza will switch Southpaw with another Southpaw and blast in the Southpaw and Southpaw calf kick. And often they're not as conditioned to the calf kick as Orthodox versus Orthodox fighters are. And if we saw, Same is going to be as conditioned as it comes. Like 300, 400 fights, having a real struggle with Jonathan DeBella recently at one championship as he was blasting that calf kick in. That's classic Yuki Yoza. Uppercuts into high kicks, so good. Noiri does that as well. He'll do it off the same side, he'll do it off opposite sides. There he uses his right uppercut to steal that space. Put a little bit far back, but it just allows us more time to ramble. Boom, there's that same calf kick again, just above the knee there. But really good. This time he does it off the opposite side. I think he goes right uppercut into left high kick. The advantage of that is he can use that right uppercut to almost pendulum step across, and then he's got a really deep angle on that left high kick. So even if they do block it, his kick can penetrate through the guard. He's not kicking at the guard, he's kicking through it. So you're a bit more open stance there. His opponent switching stance and he recognizes the moment there, and it's kind of semi-legal in kickboxing, but whilst he's been fighting in one championship, not one championship, K1, whilst he's been fighting in K1, possibly he moves to one championship, he's got an announcement soon, he's not been getting penalised for that uppercut into sweep, and he did it again a little bit after. He'll drop his hands a lot more on the playful stuff. He'll drop his hands if he's sparring with Takaru, and they just want CTE. Maybe they've seen some depressing memes and they just want to forget them. A little bit more Philly shelling. There's almost like a knee shield into the kick. You'll see that a lot of ties do that where they throw a kick and it almost ends up in a knee shield. They're getting very silly, very loosey-goosey here. Jabs. I would always be worried if I was at a seminar teaching and I've got too loosey-goosey sparring with someone, because you never know if someone's just suddenly going to go 100% after going 40% for a round and a half. It's one of the worst things you can do in sparring. It's a legit strategy in fights, but it's very bad sparring etiquette. But I think this guy doesn't do it. I think he's just being very playful, a little bit Dominic Cruz impersonation. Lead hand fights. He's fit to jab through on Yuki Yoza very well there. And there's that sweep. He'll often chain that sweep. He doesn't land super clean, but Yuki Yoza will often chain that sweep into some sort of round kick, often a head kick, and he'll often do it off the uppercut because it's a faster way to see there he hit an uppercut and then into a high kick after the sweep. It's just a faster way to recover his guard than it is bringing the uppercut back, because that's the thing with body shots and uppercuts. You've got to open yourself up a little bit more than if you were throwing a straight punch or a jab, and the recovery just isn't as quick. So sometimes it's a good idea to just turn that into a frame, turn that into another action, which he often goes uppercut and then a low sweep around the ankle, which semi-legal in K1, but he gets away with it. Much taller fighter here and an orthodox one. Spins on the calf kick, a little bit of a longer stance. Uses his cross parry a lot. Checking after his own kick. See how he's on one leg? Let's see that again. He throws inside low kick, and I think he manages to check with the same leg he kicked with, which is some good leg dexterity, but not as obvious. Yeah, there, very, very good leg dexterity. It's not as obvious though as when you just see him throwing the high kicks. Jab, slip. See, that was a very clever read by, I don't know his name, the man with the beard. Very clever read. Yoza was pulling. back. He was trying to draw out a jab counter. Yoza pulls. As he pulls, the leg is still there. So as he pulls to try and counter that jab, he hits that right low kick and interrupts Yoza's counter. Very awkward as this guy is throwing little crescent kicks. We don't talk about crescent kicks since I decked myself throwing a crescent kick in the Contender Series. Big question mark kick. Very tricky, these tall guys. He landed a good right straight on Yoza as well there. He moves side to side and managing to hit Yoza whilst he squares up a little bit, trying to track him. Very interesting tangle. They kind of ended up in an Osotogari, both throwing lead left kicks at the same time. This is a really good thing that this guy is doing. He's throwing same side combinations. Like, see if I can find that moment. He throws a right straight into right kick. Boom, boom. There's a lot of really good uses for this right straight into right kick here, off of the same side. One, it can throw people off. One, the timing is much shorter. And as well, as he extends his right arm out, he knows his distance is there, whether it hits or not. He's got this extra sense of distance, not just with his eyes, but with this frame. It stops your opponent stepping in, and it just means he can turn straight over into the right kick instead of having to turn his hips the opposite way, like if he was going to throw a left kick after in the conventional cadence striking way. Nice lean back from Yoza. Uses a lot of lean backs, a lot of cross parries. Yoza switches stance. He loves his stance switches, looking for that high fake into low kick. And there's some crescent kick, external kicks. I forget what the Japanese name for when you externally rotate at the hip to turn it in. Cyril Garn uses it. Any of my weeb brethren for weeb kick names, let me know in the comments. A little bit of a shift and a dart, and then an inside calf kick. Very nice. Inside calf kick. I was watching Takumi Terada. If you saw the video the other day, I put up on Takumi Terada. There was a lot of inside calf kicks on the pad, so Masaku uses that thick pad there, and look how much he off balances his opponent. Completely squares him up thanks to that inside calf kick. What does he do after? He looks for a jab in the middle and then a 1-2. If you're going to square someone up, probably straight shots are what's going to come next. The guy's using a low hand position and up jab. Very nice. Up jab. We don't see it as much in kickboxing, but it does have its use. It can fit through that guard, that classic kickboxing guard that we see more the hands high, right in front of the guy type guard. You double up. You know, this last round, I've just been talking about stuff that this guy's been doing really well. But it's about Yuki Yoza. There he goes, that same side. Right straight into right low kick. And he's feinting that high kick again. Really good as well. People often turn and defend with the shoulder for the right hand. So people can just step straight, but they don't even have to step straight into it. They can just fire the right leg. Maybe they have less power than a left hook right low kick or a right straight left kick, but a right straight right kick can come off really quick. There we see that hand feint up high, and it's kind of an advantage in it. If they were both in MMA gloves, it'd be very tricky to catch the gloves and push them into that low line foot sweep. But because we've got big boxing gloves on, he doesn't have to be too accurate by pushing it. And there's a beautiful cross counter from the opposite stance here. Let's see if I can freeze frame. That's something, when you switch stance, you probably are going to expect a right straight or a right kick. So you can almost preempt. You switch stance, you know what they're going to throw, or you have a good idea. So it doesn't take too much on the reaction time. This right straight's going to come out, and Yuki Yoza is going to slip, get his weight onto this left leg, and then launch his own left hand back. Look at the elbow position. Elbow is tight to his hips. He won't slip out and then stick his elbow way out, because it'll just be an arm punch on reply. Boom. There. Beautiful. See if I can put it back one more time. If you want to see possibly the best opposite stance cross counters in kickboxing, in some of striking, Riku Kazushima, really good one. I think Riku Kazushima lost to Ryujin Nasukawa last, but he's a really good watch there. Slip and into the left straight, and then he just uses a right low kick. It's an inside calf kick to the back leg. Very interesting, but causes good off balance. And there's that right straight into right low kick again. I don't think it would be as effective if Yuki Yoza was in fight mode. Tally up drinking game. The amount of times I've messed up saying Yuki Yoza in this video, you'd be very drunk. But I don't think it'd be as effective if Yuki Yoza was in his classic fight rhythm, where he's like both hands high, marching forward. He's in a playful mode, trying to slip a lot more, trying to have low hands, and it seems to be more effective because Yoza's moving his head rather than just taking it on his glove and being ready to counter the right kick. But It is something you can steal, same side striking. You see a lot of the city kickboxing guys in their prime. Volkanovski back in his prime, back with the belt. They use it a lot. I've been George Hardwick. If you like the stuff, check out the Patreon, subscribe to the channel, let me know in the comments who I should break down next, and get yourself some beans.